Hey guys, Kevin here for the Leftovers Season 2, Episode 4, Orange Sticker, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I mean, this is pretty much the episode where everything we've seen, from the past three episodes kind of came together in this episode. The only thing we did not see in this episode, of course, was Tommy and Laurie, but they're coming to Miracle. I mean, we saw them for a reason, like I told you. They're definitely going to come to Miracle. I know we're going to see them at some point come to Miracle. This episode was amazing, though. Are you surprised it's amazing? No, because this is an amazing season, and I really love the way all the storylines came together in this episode. There's some really interesting things happening in this one, and again, it just made this season even better than it was. So let's just get into it. It was an amazing episode, and I love the way this episode starts. It's all from Nora's perspective. It's really interesting. Nora's sleeping as another earthquake occurs. Now, we are to assume that this is the earthquake that happened when Evie disappeared. She calls out for Kevin, who's not there. Lily's crying. Nora calms Lily down. Jill asks what's happening. Nora tells her to go back to sleep. The earthquake has caused their sink to leak, and we then see this at the same time that Michael and John went looking for Evie. So she calls Kevin, his voicemail answers. She tells him his truck is there and he needs to call her because she doesn't know where he is. And she's thinking anything right now. I mean, I was just thinking that she could even think that he might just disappeared. She could have probably thought that because of course the departure's happening at this point. The second departure is occurring right now. And Nora sees Erica, asks her if she's okay, and she tells her Evie didn't come home last night. She was out with her friends and they're gone too. As a dog runs over the street, Nora goes back to the house and collapses. And when she finally that was pretty crazy, but I honestly, why wouldn't you collapse over something like that? I mean, you don't know where your boyfriend is. He's gone. He could have disappeared. And when she finally wakes up, she sees they have no cable or internet. And Nora calls 911. She asks if it happened again. The dispatcher thinks that she's talking about and basically, the dispatcher tells her to repeat what she said, and she tells him her boyfriend isn't there, and she once again asks if it happened again, and she thinks she's talking about the earthquake, and you can tell that the dispatcher's trying to not bring up the departure in any ways that she can. Nora asks if there are people gone, and Nora then sees Kevin and relieved, and he embraces her, and I was surprised when she saw Kevin like that, but then she picks up Lily and goes upstairs to their room. Kevin then sees Patti, who tells him that he's got a lot of explaining to do, and we see Patti a lot throughout this episode. Very interesting stuff with her. So I thought that was a great way to start the episode. I definitely really love that. Kevin is then in the shower and once again sees Patti through the mirror. He just can't get rid of her. I know a lot of people have been complaining about seeing Patti, but remember, guys, this is something that his father has. His father, he thought his father was crazy for seeing ghosts, and now it's happening to him. It's just something that I think was genetically carried over. It was inevitable that this would happen to Kevin. Honestly, I didn't even think about it, but it really does make sense. So, Kevin asks Nora if she's seen his phone, and he looks in the drawer and asks where his cigarettes are. Jill says he must have smoked them sleepwalking and asks him where he went. He tells her how he woke up in the drain in pond, and when he crawled out, there was a car parked on top, a white Mercedes, and it was empty. And he saw another car parked on top, and it was John and Michael. His phone was on top of theirs, and he says they're going to find it, and he thinks he should tell the cops. Nora says there's no use in doing that since he says he doesn't remember anything that happened last night, and Jill then finds out here that Evie is missing. And what I like about Jill's reaction is that she doesn't react like she's the only one that probably doesn't freak out over this. Like Nora and Kevin, they freak out. She stays pretty calm, mainly because she knows, okay, it's the departure. It's probably that she's disappeared, and she's just more concerned about Michael, who definitely in this episode, Michael and Jill get a lot closer, and I'll get into that. But Kevin opens the door in the park, and a park ranger asks if his truck is pulled out front, and he says it is. The ranger says they're putting together a search and rescue out the woods. He's going to need to rig some winches. He asks if he can help out, and he says he can. Him and Nora go with the ranger to help out, and when they go, the rangers are yelling at people to stay behind the line and to not park their vehicles there, because it's not safe there. And they go to the area, they find the dried up lake, and Nora asks if that's where he woke up, and he tells her that it's where he saw the car, and she says he should get down there, and if someone else finds his phone, he can just say that he lost it today, and Kevin agrees that's a very smart idea. She says he might want to start at the car and work his way down. She goes to find the girls while he searches for his phone because, she's very convinced that the girls it's not because of departure. She's pretty sure they're just missing, and maybe they just disappeared or something. So he searches for his phones. The Rangers take a picture of the vehicle. Kevin notices a handprint, and it's his handprint. probably he was, sleepwalking and he put his palm up against the car and it's there. So that really freaks him out. And a ranger asks if he can help him, and Kevin says he's part of the rescue. He brought the winch in, and he says he needs to scan his wristband, and Kevin lets him. The ranger says they need to close the park down, make sure everyone belongs there. Kevin explains why the wristband says temporary. Basically, they just, even though they bought the house, they kept it on because they told them to. So the ranger asks where he bought the house, and he says it was Stanton. He asks for an address, and he says he thinks it's 41. And John then tells the ranger, Kevin, he clears Kevin, saying that he's his neighbor, and he asks if he wants to give him a hand. It was cool to see John again. We haven't seen John in 2 episodes, so it was really cool to see him again. Actually, no, since the first episode, we haven't had really that big of a thing with John since then, so it was really great to see him again, and all the Murphys, for example, for that matter. I love seeing them again. I really love their characters. Kevin goes to help while Nora looks for the girls. A ranger goes over what to and what not to do at the park. It's very crazy, obviously. People want to know what's going on because they've never been through this before. And Nora then finds Matt in a group of people praying and joins the circle. It's the same sermon that Michael gave, and Nora goes away, and Matt notices. She doesn't need to pray right now. She doesn't need to. She doesn't need to hear it. Jill's with Lily, finds Michael sitting alone outside of the house, and Michael and Jill in this episode is very interesting. I'm already shipping them, I gotta say. You can tell that these two are definitely gonna get together this season, and I'm all for that, honestly. Um, you know, since Jill is such a different character this season, since she's like so much more happier and so much more hopeful and about herself, I think Michael is perfect for her. I mean, this is totally someone that needs someone like Jill, and I think these two are gonna really help out each other, and I really love the relation they have here. It's quite cute, I will say that. It's quite cute. He's sitting alone outside the house. She tells Lily she will get some formula for her, but then when she turns on the sink, it starts spurting out water, and she goes to Michael to say hi to him. She basically uses this as an excuse to talk to him. I mean, she claims that she only did this to get him to come over, get him to fix the sink. But me personally, I really feel this was just Jill's excuse to talk to Michael because clearly she likes him. She asks why he's not with she asks if he knows how to fix a sink, and he does exactly that, which I thought was pretty cool the way he did that. She says she's sorry she bothered him. She didn't know what else to do. He tells her it's okay. She asks why he's not with the rest of his family looking for Evie, and she says she's sorry. He doesn't have to answer. He says Evie's not there anymore, and he's accepted that Evie's just gone, that she's disappeared, and, basically he tells Lily he says that Jill asks where she is. He says when he talks about this to people like her, they look at him like he's crazy, people that don't believe in God, and I thought that was interesting that he said that. He tells Lily he thinks he made Jill feel uncomfortable, and Jill reassures him that he didn't, and he tells her he should get back, and she thanks him for his help, and I really like this scene. This is only one of 2 scenes that we get between Lily and Michael, not Lily, between Jill and Michael. I definitely really like that scene. So the park is as chaotic as ever. People are trying to get through to help out. The Rangers tell everyone to get back, and John and Kevin are at the lake, and John tells some friends that there's nothing down there, and he introduces Kevin to Sam and Loretta and Emily, who are parents of Evie's friends that, they also departed. They're told by a ranger that they're towing the car up to Austin, and John asks if they found anything, and he says nothing came up in the black light, but they did find a palm print off the driver's seat window, and they know it's too big to be one of the girls, as the print we know is Kevin's. John gets this look on his face like he's freaking out, though, obviously. I mean, this whole episode, John is just the definition of a concerned father, and he's going insane, and I have to say, whoever plays John, I don't know his name, but he really did an incredible job in this episode. Basically, I think he's going to do an incredible job all season, but, he's great here. And even though the Rangers hold the people back, they run through anyway to see the damage. I mean, they don't want to see damage, though. They just want to get the water because the lake's completely dried up. They want to get the rest of the water. So they get all the water that's left, and of course, that's the miracle water. That's the miracle water that Michael's been Michael's been selling. That's the miracle water that nobody wants to go into, and since it's called miracle water, that's why they want it. So Nora walks through the woods that Evie and her friends ran naked through, which I do find that interesting. I do think we're going to find out why that happened eventually, very soon, what's going on there. The lake is now completely dried up, and Nora asks Kevin if there was any luck, and Kevin says no, but if the phone turns up, he'll take her advice. He asks if he should just keep looking, and she says that's a pretty good idea. She hands him a flashlight, and he's asking if they're okay. She says she is. They both say they love each other. She leaves. She doesn't seem very happy. I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I think Nora can tell that Kevin is hiding something. She can tell that he's hiding something, that there's more that's going on that he's not telling her, and she probably really is upset about it. And she goes to the store to buy groceries. This scene was really interesting. She asked the woman working there for a fifth of wild turkey and a carton of Reds. She then realized that she forgot her wallet, and a man says to put it on his tab. This man's name is Virgil, and she says he doesn't have to do that. Virgil says it's his pleasure, and he says it looks like she's got a fun night planned, but she shouldn't smoke. She says it's for a boyfriend. She's enabling him. She says if he gives her his address, she'll pay him. He says to consider it a gift. She thanks and introduces herself. And, he says his name is Virgil and says he's sorry for her loss. And the woman then kicks him out. Clearly, he does this a lot. And he says he's sorry if he caused any distress. And I don't really know what that's all about. Why specifically he said that to her. I don't really know. I thought that was interesting. But, definitely that definitely made Nora a bit upset. So basically, the woman kicks him out. He says he's sorry if he caused any distress. And outside, Kevin goes to the dried up lake to look for his phone. Patti says she knows exactly where his phone is, and she says she can tell him what happened. Now, this whole episode, Kevin is trying to avoid Patti. You can just tell. He doesn't want to talk to her. She's talking away, but he doesn't want to talk to her. And some of the stuff she says is a lot of nonsense. And he seems to be ignoring her as he looks around. She says he's a regular fucking Hardy Boy. She asks why he didn't tell Nora about the cinder block tied to his ankle. She asks if he's afraid she'll jump to conclusions and says she knows what conclusions she jumped to. She tells him if he's closer or farther, and I thought it was pretty cool, actually, the way she helped him find it. And she starts singing the lyrics to Never Gonna Give You Up. She does it 3 times in this episode. I'm not really sure what that is supposed to symbolize. Some people are thinking that this means that Patti is just lying away and that she's just trolling everyone. I don't really know what that's supposed to mean. But she tells him not to get in the car. John then finds him and asks if he's still there, and he tells him how he lost his phone when he was out there. He asks if he's found it. He says he did, it's bricked, and he says he was going to check with the Rangers, see if they need some help in the woods. John says that they will find nothing in the woods and offers to give him a ride. He says Nora was going to come back, but he offers and Kevin goes with him. They drive, and Kevin notices a wrapped birthday present in John's car. This is clearly a birthday present that John has not opened, and we don't know why it's there. That definitely, something's gonna happen there. And he asks if he felt the earthquake last night. Kevin lies to him and says it woke them up. And John seems really, pissed off in this scene. I was thinking John was, really pissed at Kevin for some reason, but John offers Kevin a beer, says to get him one, even though John doesn't usually drink. Of course, his daughter is missing, so he has to get it out somehow. And they've really, I think, portrayed a parent's grief of a child missing very well in this episode. Probably even better than they did last year, because this is a character that we've seen already. And the characters last year we never saw. We never saw, Nora's children until episode 9, so we really weren't that as connected as we are now. We're not watching characters losing a child. We are losing that character with them because we've seen that character and we've saw enough of Evie to, I think, really enjoy her character and identify with her. So John then passes through their house. Kevin realizes he's not taking him to their house, and John meets with a park ranger, Patrick, and he asks how he's holding up, and he tells him to open the gate. Patrick says the natives in the camp are restless since they closed the park and he might want to roll his window up. They open the gate. John tells Kevin that the people wait for weeks to get in for 10 hours so they can just buy a t-shirt. And Kevin says they're looking for more than that, and he asks what he's looking for. And he says a fresh start. And John says that he paid $2,000 for a house that's cracking apart so they can live on the other side of the bridge. And what he's really looking for is to feel safe. And he tells him that it's no safer than anywhere else, that he is sure there are no miracles in Miracle. And I really do agree with John that this whole, miracle bullshit, it's not true. The siren wails. Kevin asks what's happening. John tells him to stay in the car. It's the guys that John worked with, and apparently he seems to think that Isaac is responsible for the palm print, and that would make sense, I think. And Patti says that he frames someone without even trying. John then gets back in the car, speeds away from the guys. He goes to Isaac's motel, and Kevin notices he has a bat. And Kevin really starts to see, how crazy John is and what he definitely is hiding. John says he's going to go talk to somebody, a liar, and he tells him how Isaac told him that something bad would happen now, and now his daughter's gone. Kevin asks why he would have Evie, and he says he might have burned down his house, and he asks Kevin if he's coming with him. Kevin asks why he brought him there. He picked him up and doesn't know why. He says he's not thinking straight, and Kevin says to let him talk to Isaac. John tells him to step aside because, he's not going to let John talk to Isaac with that bat. And Kevin says he was a cop, and if he knows anything about Evie or the girls, then he will know, and they will take it from there. And he tells him his name, and John tells him he's in room 12, and Kevin tells him he will talk to him, and he is to wait there. So John agrees, and Kevin then heads out as Patti tells him he defused a bomb and congratulates him. And she tells him his story about her ex-husband Neil. He was engaging in some pretty suspicious texting activity, and he would leave late at night to go to the office, and she didn't believe any of it. So she followed him to a motel, and I thought this worked. I thought this further developed Patti's character. Even though Patti's dead, we're still finding out stuff about her character, which I do like. In many ways, Patti is as big a part of the show as ever. Basically, she tells him that she followed him to the motel, like the one sat in the car and watched while he walked into the room. She considered turning around, going back home because she was scared that she'd catch him and it'd be over and he would leave her. But she needed to see, so she got out of the car and walked over the room and took a peek, and there was Neil, butt naked, and some woman who had nothing but her shirt on, and she tells him she was taking a shit on him, and never once did he ask her. I mean, that's pretty disgusting. I mean, it doesn't really get worse than that, definitely. So Kevin then knocks on Isaac's door. Patti tells Kevin that Laurie was her shrink for a long time, and I thought that was interesting when we found that out. I didn't think we knew that before, but I really liked. Actually, I think we did know that. We knew that from episode 9. Patti was with Laurie, and she was her shrink, and she finally tells Kevin that. And again, Kevin doesn't seem to be caring, and he says he's security, and to open the door, a woman answers, and he asks if Isaac's in there, and he then sees John at a different house and realizes that he purposely gave him the wrong address so he could confront Isaac himself, and that was genius that John did that. Obviously, John had a plan. He wasn't going to let Kevin ruin it, and he was going to maintain it, even though Kevin tried to stop him. I mean, he knew what he was going to do. He wasn't going to let something like Kevin stop him. He wasn't going to let that happen. So Kevin tells John to stop. Gunshots are firing. John runs into the house, and John has been shot. He asks him. He's asking him where he is. Isaac says where Evie is. Isaac said enough of this shit. Kevin tells him it's okay. He tells Isaac John has been shot, and he asks Isaac where Evie is. Isaac says whatever he's looking for ain't there, and he tells him to get the fuck out of his room. And Kevin tells him to stay back, and they leave. And Kevin can tell how dangerous the situation is. Isaac says there's nothing more dangerous than a man who don't believe in nothing, and I do agree with that. I mean, the fact that John doesn't believe in any religious stuff, that's very important. Still, he goes to church with his family every Sunday. It's just very interesting. Kevin says they have to get him to a hospital. John says no. Kevin says he was shot and he needs to go see a doctor. John says no hospitals. He said before he do anything to help, and he tells him to help now. Kevin says he's driving. He calls Erica. Of course, she's a doctor. Tells her that he got shot. Nora comes home, finds Jill, and asks her if Lily's asleep. And I really like this scene here. By the way, that scene with Kevin and John, so intense. I love it. But then we get this great scene between Nora and Jill that I definitely really loved. And it's quiet scenes like this that really make this show so great. Basically, she asks if her story had a happy ending, and Jill asks what kind of sick fuck she thinks she is. Jill asks where Kevin is, and Nora says he's still out looking. She says that she's 18, but Jill says she's actually 17. Nora says that's close enough. Gives her some alcohol to drink, and again, probably does it just, so that way Jill has something to help her out during the departure. And the scene with Nora was very interesting. Nora doesn't actually think that, basically, Jill asks how she knows, and basically Nora asks if Jill knows why he sleepwalks, and she says she doesn't know. She thinks it's stress. The town is losing his shit, and he was in charge, and now he needs to lose his shit too. Nora says he's not in charge anymore, and they left town. Jill says wherever you go, there you are. Nora says she's very wise. Jill talks about how Michael says Evie departed, and Nora says she's convinced that she didn't. She's convinced the departure didn't happen, and she talks about how she worked in benefits in the DSD, and they had her work in the fraudulent claims department, and people who said their family members departed so they could get a check, and she says her beat was secondary departures, and she got assigned this woman, and she and her husband used to walk the dog together every morning. It was a year and a half ago after the 14th, and as they're walking out the front door, the phone rings, so she goes back inside, picks it up. When she goes back outside, there's the door, dog is laying on the ground, and the husband was gone. So a logical explanation is that he went where 140 other million people went, into thin air. However, that's not where he went, because she found him in Puerto Rico, and he was careful. He had made small withdrawals and from their bank accounts for 6 months, so he could buy a nest egg, and that he could choose his moment. And he ran, and she asked why, and she says it's because he had the greatest scapegoat, in the history of civilization. The sudden departure was a one-time thing, and Nora's convinced, the sudden departure is not going to happen again, was a one-time thing, and that there's no way that this was the departure. She knows that, Evie was not departed, that she most likely disappeared on her own. And I don't really know how this works out, but I think it's very interesting that Nora thinks that. So she asked why in God's name would it, and I like what she says. She said the flood occurred on October 14th, and the ark took all the animals it needed, and she asked why in God's name it would need any more. I do see her point there, I would say that. So Kevin then takes John to the hospital where Erica waits, and he tells him to take it easy. Erica then asks him what it was, and he says it was 22 through the door. She says it's not that deep, she can see the bullet, and Kevin says he should go, but Erica tells him to stay. Eric gets the anesthesia ready, but John says he doesn't want to be knocked out. She does it anyway because obviously she cares about her husband. John says that's better, and he tells her he thought he could find Evie, and she says she knows. She then sees the present John has opened, and Kevin and Nora, basically, she puts it on the desk. Nora's with Lily. Nora tells Jill she has to go out and for her to watch Lily. She tells her that she's going to church, and Matt talks to Mary about how the people don't want to hear about his experience with departure since they haven't been through it. And this is really interesting. Matt's coming into this world from someone who knows about the departure. He's been in the departure. These people have never experienced the departure, so it's obviously he's kind of like the odd man out here. But it's very interesting to see Matt, be the reverend in this world where religion is, very well accepted, but they just don't want to hear about his experience with the departure. Which is very interesting. So Nora then asks Matt if it's real and if the place is real, and the scene between Matt and Nora was fantastic. He says he's not sure what she's talking about. She says one of the only reasons they chose this place is because he said it was special, and he told them that they would feel safe there. And now she's waking up to earthquakes and missing teenagers, and her boxes aren't even unpacked, and it's the same goddamn thing she left. And he tells her that Mary woke up, and he thought he was dreaming on the first night. They got there, but she was back, and he said they should go to the hospital, but Mary just wanted to talk. The last thing she remembered was the accident, so he told everything that happened since, and he said they talked for hours, they cried until they fell asleep, and in each other's arms, and when he woke up, she was like this again, and unfortunately, but at least he got to talk to her. So for Matt, this was kind of a blessing in disguise because he was able to talk to his wife again, who, we know has a condition and hasn't really talked in years, and that's incredible that she was able to talk again. And again, why, we don't know, but she was. So basically, he says for some reason the people in this town don't want him to talk about what happened. Maybe they don't believe him, and maybe she doesn't, but he got a glimpse, a moment. He says every day he's even wondered if it's going to happen again, if he'll get her back for good this time. And the one thing he's never wondered is if it's real. It is real. He's just accepted that it's real, and Nora needs to accept that as well. So I thought that was a great scene. I really love that. Jill opens the fridge and finds that Michael left a pair of pliers on this thing. She goes to tell him he left it there. She asks him what the verified orange sticker is for. That's why this episode's called Orange Sticker. And Mark says before Park Services, and Mark, I don't know who Mark is. Michael says before Park Services took over, some people from the government came over to every house to make sure it was true that no one was gone. And he asks if she wants to come in. She says she's watching Lily. He asks if she's alone, and she says she is. He says he is too, and it's a really sad scene because, yeah, they kind of both are alone. I mean, Jill's alone in the sense that she's watching Lily. Michael's alone in the sense that his entire family is out looking, and nobody really seems to be concerned about Michael grieving. I mean, no one's really talked about him, and he's really going through a lot. I mean, Evie was his twin sister, and obviously he really loved her. So Erica then pulls the bullet out of John, and Kevin tells her how John said he burned Isaac's house down, and Erica says she guesses there even now. She says burning down house is new. Usually he just gives a warning and he asks what it's for. And this scene, Regina King's probably going to get another Emmy because this scene was incredible, and she really killed in this scene. She says when people found out what happened there was a lot of confusion, and then there were claims that they were untrue, and John was in at the time, but when he came home, he saw what was going on and wasn't having it. The speech he gave to Kevin, she says Evie was a miracle. The whole there are no miracles. She says that Evie was a miracle. She was premature by 24 weeks, and she says a lot of people don't know the twins can be born by 2 months apart. And Michael, he stayed put, but Evie came too soon. She was 1 pound, 1 ounce, and now look at her. And she says she knows people are saying that something bad happened. And to Erica, Evie's just playing a joke and giggling in the woods. She doesn't want to think that Evie really is gone. And she says no one would ever want to hurt Evie. She would never want to hurt anybody else. She's better than that. She's exceptional, just like this town. And she says things are going to change now, and she needs to accept that. And Kevin leaves the hospital, steps on a bottle, and Patti says she likes the Murphys. They're exciting. And Erica is something. And Erica truly is something. So she gets the call that her husband's, and basically she says that, gets a call, her husband's shot, just puts the bullet up, no questions asked. And she says that's commitment, that's trust. And Patti says some really interesting things in this scene. I'm not going to lie. She really does. She says what he has now isn't love. It's actually damage control. And his family blew up, and so did Nora's, and now they're all just clinging on to each other so they can cling on to something. That's why she bought the house. She says she didn't really care whether he wanted to or not. She says if he loved them, he would trust them enough to tell them about her. If he loved them, if he loved them, he wouldn't lie. And he tells her to shut the fuck up. He didn't tell them about her because she's not really there. He says he loves his family, and she asks why he tried to kill himself, and he asks what. And we realize that supposedly he tried to kill himself. That's why he had the cinder block and everything. And she says this isn't a big mystery. She says she was right there with him. He walked out of his house in the middle of the night, found a rope and a cinder block, tied it to his leg, threw himself in the lake. She tells him there are people who try to commit suicide for attention, and then there are people who really just want to fucking die, like both of them. And she says she watched him do it. He did not hesitate, right into the wet abyss, and if not for an act of divine intervention, he would be gone. She says these are not the actions of a man that loves his family. He says he doesn't want to kill himself, and she says he's entitled to his own opinion. She's just glad they finally talked about it. And she also tells him that since he didn't care to ask her, the girls did vanish, drove in their car listening to music, not a worry in the world, and then they were gone. She says Erica was right, things are indeed going to change, and she then starts singing the lyrics, Never Gonna Give You Up Again. So I don't know if Patty's trying to, say, oh, I'm completely lying to you, but that was, again, I don't really know what that really means, but that was very interesting. So we see it, the homeless man supposedly can see Patti too, and Kevin then goes back into the house, and there's a slow version of You're the One That I Want playing. I really love the way this episode ended. Yeah, it was weird to hear You're the One I Want as a slow song, but I thought it worked really well here, definitely. Especially because of what we were trying to show. He sits on the bed, gets ready for bed. Nora asks if he found it. He says he did. She says, what a relief. She tells him whatever happened to those girls, she knows he had nothing to do with it, but she can't wake up alone like that again. And let me talk about what Patti said, of course, with Nora and Kevin not really loving each other. I think they do love each other. I think definitely, yeah, it was kind of that they just wanted to be a family, and I think they just want to be a family, and they wanted to start over, and I really feel that's what's going on there. And maybe they don't love each other now, but I think they're in the process where, Kevin and Nora are still falling in love. They're trying to love each other, and I definitely think that they do love each other at this point. Basically, she shows him handcuffs that she found in the box of his uniform, and she tells him that they're in this together. They handcuff each other, tells her he hopes she found the key, and as they start to fall asleep, Nora asks if they're ever going to find the girls. Kevin says he doesn't think so because he knows that they're most likely gone from the departure. And then the end of this episode, Jill gets up in the middle of the night, looks over to see Michael taking off the orange sticker, and that's basically how the episode ends. It was a really weird, long panning shot, but that's basically how the episode ends, and I thought this was an incredible episode, as usual. I mean, really, this season is on a roll, I have to say. But let's get in a little bit more into this episode, because there's a lot to talk about, definitely. First of all, Patty's advice, with her saying that, oh, this was a departure, but then when she sings Never Gonna Give You Up, what do you think that means? Do you think she's trolling us? Do you think that she's just not telling the truth, or is she just kind of giving Kevin something to think about? I'm not really sure why she keeps singing that song. I don't know what the significance of that is, but there definitely is significance there. That's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. John going after Isaac, this is not the ending of that. He is definitely going to go after him again. There's definitely going to be some more between Isaac and John. It's going to get really crazy there. I know it's going to. And Erica knows that. Kevin knows that. Everyone knows that at this point. Things are only going to get crazier at this point, and that's just what's going to happen. These people have never experienced this before. I feel really bad for Matt. Matt seems like, he is one of the sane people right now, because obviously, again, his wife spoke to him, so it's kind of an advantage for him when this departure happened, and he wants people to know about his experience, but they just don't want to listen for whatever reason, and they just don't want to hear about it, so that's not good, obviously. Did Kevin actually try to kill himself? I mean, Kevin claims he didn't. Do you think that Nora and Kevin truly do love each other? I think they do. Jill and Michael, these two need to get together like very soon because you can tell it's going to happen. I mean, every scene they have, it seems like they're about to like have sex right then and there. I honestly, it seems that way. That's just how it seems like in this show. Um, I really hope they do get together. Erica's whole thing with John, I really like that scene where she talks about John and, Evie and everything. I really like the Murphy family as a whole. I think they're definitely really great characters, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with them. They definitely are really great. And I overall thought this was an amazing episode. Now, do you agree with Nora's theory? Nora's theory, I think, is a bit plausible. But do you think that Evie really just disappeared? Some people are thinking that Evie might have been killed by someone. I'm not really sure, but again, we don't know why she ran through the woods naked, so I guess we're going to find out why eventually. Let's talk a little bit about next week. Next week is actually Matt's perspective. It's going to focus on Matt and Mary, basically, I guess, when they first entered. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. It's when they first entered and things like that. And that's going to be very interesting because last year's Matt episode is one of the best episodes of this entire show. So hopefully this episode is just as great. I'm assuming it's going to be amazing. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Of course, amazing episode, guys. Really loving this season. Really into what I have to say. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Homeland. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.